Well, hey everybody, good morning and welcome to a brand new episode of Chris and Amanda's Swap Showdown. We are so happy that you could join us here today. If you are checking us out live, thank you so much for hanging out with us, getting up with us early on a Monday morning here at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we do on almost every Monday. You know, we take some time off every now and then, but we appreciate you chilling out with us, getting your coffee on, getting your week started, listening to your weekly musical throwdown, which is Song Swap Showdown. If you're checking out the show on demand, wherever you get podcasts, well, we are super psyched that you can hang out with us there as well. And of course, you can catch all replays of the show right here on YouTube. So please make sure you hit that subscribe and that little bell so that way you get notified every time we go live and when we drop new episodes of the show and all kinds of other great video content. If this is your first time here checking out Song Swap Showdown, how the show typically works is Amanda and I each swap 3 songs with each other that we may or may not have heard before, and we rate those songs on a scale of 1 to 5 records, with 1 being a hard pass, a skip.
Ew.
Skip it. I would choose to not play that song. That's what you so lovingly. I would choose not to play it.
Not to play the song.
Or it's a hard skip.
Yeah.
We've talked about levels of skippage here.
As we added last week, that skip of it would make you get out of your casket dead.
Yes.
Come back from the dead to skip that song.
That's right. It would literally rouse you from death to skip.
We stand on business when we talk about skippage here.
We do. What the good? Well, one day we're gonna have to do an entire in-depth interview on or deep dive into skippage and what creates the skip.
Absolutely. And I bet a lot of people have a lot to add to that dialogue.
I'm sure they do. We'll have to do a roundtable discussion on that.
For sure.
We'll have to table that idea.
I'm writing it down.
Write that down. Make a note. Everyone, make note. All the way up to 5 records, by the way, which is what we like to so lovingly say as heavenly music to our ears.
Yeah, it is.
That's right. Going on the Eternity playlist, which is a song you never get sick of hearing. It's a song you would not skip. And in fact, you turn it up and maybe even listen to it again and again and again. You get that little repeat button on like Spotify, so it just keeps repeating.
Yeah.
Because you love it.
I just discovered that button. Is that bad?
I just discovered the button.
And then I think you could even just do it where it will like play twice and then it'll go on to like the next suggested songs.
That one I didn't know about.
I'm still navigating it all because it's all new to me.
It's all new to you.
It's all new to me.
It's all new to you. Yeah, so that's how we roll the show here. Oh, and how do we pick the songs? Well, we pick them by spinning wheel themes at the end of every single episode. I mean, you know, it's a no-brainer. Spin a wheel, let it pick, and that's the theme.
Wheel.
Everybody loves the wheel. Everyone loves the wheel. So, and we're always putting all kinds of great ideas on the wheel. So listen, if you have an idea for a show, we want to hear from you. Please let us know in the comments, DM us, whatever, and we will add your idea to the wheel of themes. Have some more coffee, Chris. Woohoo!
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, on our as you said, our rotating coffee date.
That's right. Which I gotta show you. Look what I got at the farmer's market.
What'd you get at the farmer's market?
I mean,
so
tumble out of bed. Tumble out of bed. So for those who are just listening and cannot be blessed with her beautiful, beautiful picture,
Dolly.
I have a tumbler of Miss Dolly, and it says, "It's hard to be a diamond in a rhinestone world." And then it says, "Tumble out of bed, check mark. Stumble to the kitchen, check mark. Pour myself a cup of ambition, check mark." And then the rest you have to fill in yourself here. But I love it. Miss Dolly is going to be with us every Monday morning now.
Excellent. Well, I love that. I love that Miss Dolly will be with us every Monday morning in Tumblr form.
In Tumblr form. Be cool if it was in person.
It would be cool, but we'll take what we can get.
Absolutely.
We'll take what we can get. I know Dolly's been very busy. We've been asking for her to come on the show. She's been very busy. Maybe one day. That's right. So listen, everybody, we're excited. We have an interesting show today. So listen, it's like one of these things where, you know, we do a lot of modern music, but every now and then, you know, we do get back into our time machines. And this one we went way back because the wheel spun and spun way in the past.
And just let that digest. It went way to the past of
It went
the
way to the
year,
past.
just the year of
Mhm.
1960. Yet I cheated a little. I'll be honest. The year of 1960, which everyone digests, that is 64 years ago.
That's right. 64 years ago. So we went way, way
Whew.
back. And what was interesting about
Whew.
exploring that year, because immediately you go to like, oh my God, this is, you think of the music of the 60s.
Yeah.
But in the year 1960, and you look at the
Very
records released that year,
interesting.
very interesting year, very much on the
Very
cusp,
much.
because the Beatles really are not hitting America for another, like, I think 3 years. It's 1963, I think they hit, or 64. I forgot when Ed Sullivan is, but we're still a little out of that. It hasn't happened yet. The full-on British invasion has not happened. So we are pre-British invasion. We still have a lot of things from the 50s still being big, Elvis, Frankie, you got a lot of the classics, a lot of the standards, a lot of American pop culture at the time still releasing records. And notably, I did look at a lot of stuff. So we're going to have a lot of like little fun stats and little things that came out, but there was a lot of awesome. I know we don't talk about a lot of jazz on this show, but there were a lot of amazing landmark jazz records that released in 1960. Like serious like landmark jazz records that have really stood the test of time. So really interesting to go back and look as to what was happening in 1960. So we jumped in our Chevy Corvairs or our Rambler Ambassadors, time machines.
Look at that.
Those were the most popular cars of the year that year. And we went way back. We listened to songs and we picked what we felt like were 6 songs that were pretty like emblematic of the year 1960 to rate and review and talk about here with all of you here today. So we are happy that you guys are all with us here today. So real quick, checking in. Good morning, Mark Ronick. Good morning, Song Swappers. He is saying we are super excited to be here today. And of course, Ian and Dave have loaded up the comments with lots of great stuff. Dave saying, good morning, Tune Traders. We should just seriously make some shirts with that, like say Tune Traders and Song Swappers.
Absolutely.
That'd be kind of funny. Yeah, we got some great choices. Yeah, he says Wanda Jackson, boss choice, Chris. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about a lot of our song picks for today. Yeah. Ian from Australia. Hi, everyone. Looking forward to looking backwards to 1960.
And you know what? So anytime we look back or analyze something, I can't help but think someone is going to do that to us in this year.
Yep.
In the future. They're going to look back and analyze what we ate, what we danced to, what we sang to, what we lived in, what we drove, to your point of what you just said. The top cars were of 1960. And it's interesting because time just continues to move.
It really does. It honestly does. It's truly something to look back. So speaking of looking back, we're gonna share some stuff throughout the show here because I did compile. Of course, when you go this far back, it's fun to look back to see what the differences are between 1960 and 2024. So just for instance. Let me get this up here real quick because I thought this was kind of, you always got to go, how much did stuff cost in 1960?
Oh, this is going to sting everyone. Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. So here's just a few stats here.
Oh, no.
So in 1960, a new house cost...
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
A whopping $12,700, which is a lot of money back in 1960. By 1969, the real estate value, this is the average median, by the way, this is just the national average, was $15,500 by 1969. So in 9 years, it jumped up like $3,000, pretty much.
Oh.
The average income per year in 1960 was $5,315. And by 1969, it had jumped to $8,450.
That's a pretty significant jump, I would think, ratio-wise.
What do you think a gallon of gas cost in 1960?
Oh, okay. So when I started driving, I could still get gas for like that. It was under $1 for sure when I first started driving. So I'm going to say maybe between 40 and 50 cents.
You would be way too high. A gallon of gas in 1960... was 25 cents. And by 1969, it had increased by 10 cents to 35 cents.
Which, I mean, percentage-wise, that's a significant jump.
Absolutely. Heck yeah.
Oh
In
boy.
1960, the average cost of a new car was $2,600.
You can't even buy wheels for that now.
Yeah. Minimum wage was $1.25 per hour.
Oh, that seems relevant
A
still.
gallon of milk was 95 cents. One ticket to the movies was a whopping $1.
That seems pretty hefty.
$1 to go to a movie in 1960. That does seem like a big increase considering
That
you
was
get
a
gas for
luxury then,
25 cents.
clearly.
Yeah. A dozen eggs, we always do dozen eggs, milk, bread, or
Yeah.
53 cents for a dozen of eggs.
Wow. So
Yeah.
some things were very pricey to me.
Yeah.
That seems significant for eggs and a gallon of milk, 99 cents.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a couple of other quick things, and then
This is
this is
fascinating.
fun.
But
There's a lot of them on
proceed.
here, but so of course we said eggs. So a
Yeah.
loaf of bread was 20 cents. And a 6-pack of Pepsi was 59 cents, while a 6-pack of beer was a whopping 99 cents. You can get a 6-pack of beer cheaper than going to the movies.
You could get a 6-pack of beer for the same price as milk.
Yeah. Yep. And just one more funny stat here was a fast food hamburger was 20 cents.
Wow.
So I would
could
assume
eat.
probably a McDonald's, any kind of fast food,
Yeah.
20 cents for a fast food hamburger.
I'd-
That's a bargain.
It is a bargain, is right.
Yeah.
I could eat a mess of food like that. You get a sack of burgers,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Oh
20
gosh.
cents. Can you imagine? Would be really funny. I mean, it'd be really funny to say like somebody's for one day, like these. I mean, they would lose billions of dollars, but it would be funny to say, let's dial it back to like these fast food places and be like, we're gonna serve burgers for 20 cents just today. I mean, forget it. Can you imagine?
Even if they did 2000 prices, like the year 2000 or 1999, like something, because that's still kind of retro and vintagey now, which is just shocking. I can't fathom it. But man, you wouldn't even be able to get in.
No.
It would be so
It'd be
so
crazy.
busy.
It'd be absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little history lesson for everybody this morning. I find those facts always very fascinating and depressing.
Yes. So for all of our younger viewers and listeners, because according to our demographics, Amanda, we actually have people younger than us listening to the show that are in there. According to stats and analytics, we have people in their 20s that listen to the show. So there you go.
They're like, oh, look at these old grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, look at these old people like talking about music. How cute. How cute.
Aren't they precious? They still think they're relevant at their age.
That's right. Yeah. Look at them using the YouTubes.
As what I said, I don't want to hear it. And I covered my ears and I was like, my headphones are in my ears. It's not effective. They're not effective. Like, oh, granny.
Yeah.
Our age shows occasionally.
Yeah. Occasionally
or a lot.
So let's get into it here today. We have 6 songs to go through that we chose. Obviously, there's tons of music from 1960, but we really stuck. And this was we were looking at the year 1960, not the 60s as a whole, but the year 1960.
Yeah.
And so it was very interesting.
Little.
Yeah,
I did. One of my songs. Because I'm gonna blame Dave, our VIP Dave, for this because he said charted in the 60s or released. And I said, he made a good point last week. I'm going to run with one of my songs is released. My second song was released in the 59. It was a 59er, but it charted in 60. And I thought that was
too,
fine.
By the way. One of mine too. The Wanda Jackson song was actually originally released in 58, but didn't chart till 60, and they kind of re-released it because that happened a lot. Like
absolutely
back then, is that they would record it and it kind of gained any traction, and then as the artist sort of gained more popularity, they would go back and re-release a lot of songs, or they would go and re-record versions, and very similar to what Taylor Swift is doing today.
Very similar, very, very similar.
Yeah.
So we both cheated a little. So since you brought up Miss Wanda Jackson, let's start with her, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
With her Mean Man is the first song you sent to me by the beautiful, sassy Wanda Jackson,
the queen of rockabilly. If Elvis was the king, she certainly was the queen.
Yeah, this is a sassy song. And I think this could possibly be that first song. And I didn't really look, but I feel like this could be the first song to chart about women's love for bad boys.
I mean, it's definitely I feel like, at least with the attitude of the song and the swagger that it has,
Yeah, like
it was definitely more out front than I think what a lot of normal songs. And the fact that she's also, a female singer, just kind of putting it out there. Like, I love it. There's everything about Wanda Jackson. But if you have never heard Wanda Jackson before, our audience, our amazing community, please do a deep dive into Wanda Jackson, because she truly is an American treasure. That I'm not going to say time has forgotten, but definitely not.
I think that's fair.
Not as mainstream popular as, say, like Elvis was, or some of maybe her other contemporaries, but yet hugely influential to many of the modern artists that even got big in the 70s and like just really a landmark artist. So she is amazing. She's an amazing musician who dealt with a lot of stuff back in the day.
For a woman who's singing something a little bit edgy here and there, I mean, she really set some groundwork for the women to come.
She absolutely did.
One of the comments that stood out to me, because I love reading the comments anytime I watch the YouTube videos or anything like that, and one was, it was a guy saying he was shocked more people have not tried to cover this recently. Yeah. Because he felt the lyrics, even if they were slightly tweaked, could be really fun and catchy in, the modern day age of music. And I really thought that, like, if a Carrie Underwood took this on, or a Miranda Lambert, probably even more appropriately, that sass, that edge, just put something, even the Chicks.
Yeah. I mean, you got it. If you're going to do anyone, especially this era of Wanda Jackson, the rockabilly sound, like, you really got to bring that attitude and that swagger to it, because that is a big part of it. And, her big song from back in the day was Let's Have a Party. That was her top 40 hit, like, back then. But Mean Man and Fujiyama Mama, they all charted. And like I said, they were songs that were recorded earlier, and then she re-recorded and re-released them. And so a lot of great things to love about Wanda Jackson. And in fact, her very last record was done in 2021. Unbelievably, she still was making music, and Joan Jett actually produced that very last record. She's officially retired from music because she did have a stroke. Wow. But she was still recording and making new music up until 2021. And I love that. Joan Jett produced her very last record. So
that is so special. Yeah. Well, hey, so did Randy Travis, and we have him releasing some new stuff. So who knows?
Yep.
Who knows? Yep. But yeah, this is a fun song. I really, really think it's a fun rockabilly ditty.
Yep. Oh, definitely a rockabilly ditty. Definitely a rockabilly ditty.
And if you haven't heard it before, Chris, let's give everybody a little sample of what we are talking about.
Miss let me get this queued up here.
Jackson.
A little Wanda Jackson here.
Singing a song.
For all you guys.
Mean Man.
This is a great way to start your Monday.
It is. It is.
With this song. I mean, just even that sounds badass.
It does. The edge of it. As she's leaning on a rocker.
Rocking with Wanda.
I love a mean man who lives uptown. When I want him most, he's not around. He's a mean man. Ooh, Lordy, he's a mean man. He's a mean man, but I love him all I can. Now he calls himself and wants a date at 8. He's never on time, he's always late. He's a mean man. Ooh, well, he's a mean man. He's a mean man, but I love him all I can.
I could listen to it all day. I love Wanda. Wanda Jackson is truly, I'm telling you guys, just an absolute American treasure. And I'm so glad that she got her flowers, where she was officially inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 2009 by the one and only Jack White, who is a huge Wanda Jackson fan. And you can hear the style, and you can hear how a lot of modern artists were influenced by her and what she did. Even bands, even like everybody blew up when the Cramps were featured in Wednesday, but you can watch and listen to tons of interviews with the Cramps, and the way Poison Ivy plays guitar, boom, Wanda Jackson. Always crediting Wanda Jackson for their sound and their influences, for sure. So, and she's awesome.
And I think I'm gonna play a little bit of King Creole by Elvis Presley
Hmm.
because I think there is such a connection of how these songs go. So I'm gonna play it off on my phone though, everyone. It's not gonna be so great, but
Oh, I could find it on here if you want.
maybe do that. King Creole.
Yeah, because that sounds terrible.
It does. Sorry, guys. Let me
All right, hold
pause
on. Let me hear.
it. That was a flop. Wah, wah, wah. King
King-
Creole. King. I feel like there's such a, and they're right around that same time period. So absolutely, and
Yeah,
he's definitely the king of that
he is.
same period.
Oh, there it is. I knew
Anytime I
had.
can feature some Elvis, I'm gonna throw it in there, guys.
There it
Buckle
is.
up, buckle up.
Here it is. I was trying to find it. Was trying to dial
I was
it
like,
up.
I think my phone's still playing. No, it was you.
Yeah, no, that was me. But it's not sharing, so here we go. All right, now it'll be good.
I don't want to take you from the playlist, but
You're not. No, this is all good. It's good. Let's get this going.
oh, maybe I have the wrong
Man in
song.
New Orleans, he's a rock and roller. He's a guitar man with a great big soul. He lays down a beat like a ton of cola. He goes by the name of King Creole. You know he's gone, jumping like catfish on a pole.
And I feel like there's a lot of Elvis similar.
You know he's
That
gone,
rockabilly sound.
It's shaking King Creole. When the king starts to do it, it's as good as done.
just love
He
Elvis so
holds his
much.
guitar like a Tommy gun.
All right, because I know we're gonna get dumped.
I know we are.
We every time we play Elvis stuff,
Sorry.
we always get in trouble with Elvis stuff.
So,
So, all right.
all right.
So super excited about Wanda Jackson. I know I love this. I thought I would give me personally. I'm giving a 5 records to myself because I think it's just Wanda Jackson deserves it. But
Lucky for me, that's not how the show works.
but lucky for you, that's not how the show works. So Amanda, that girl,
That's me.
that girl, you fake Elvis fan, you.
Get me riled up. What is Chris referring to? Someone had the nerve to leave a comment on our YouTube channel saying I was not a real Elvis fan.
You were basically called a poser
Whew.
without
Let
saying the
me-
word poser.
And so I sent Chris a message back like, let me count the ways I am.
In fact, you were rated on a scale of 1 to 5 records for your fandom.
3 at best.
Yeah.
For that girl.
By the way, kudos to that person who left that comment for rating you.
I know it was a lengthy comment.
It was
You
very
guys
lengthy.
Go look at the Elvis one if you guys want to look at it.
Yeah,
And
our
I'm
Elvis
like,
video.
You know what? Excuse me. My baby was born on Elvis's birthday. If that isn't the biggest
Yeah.
fan flex ever,
That's a fan
go put
flex.
yourself in the corner, sir.
Sir.
Sir. All right, but
All right.
we're talking about Wanda. We're talking
Right,
about
we're talking
Wanda.
about Wanda Jackson. We're getting to Elvis soon enough.
We are. I really love her place in history
Mhm.
of the music, the thumbprint she left in
Right.
the 60s, just and into this century. I just think it's so great. I don't want to listen to this song over and over and over and over.
Mm.
Okay, so that's where I can't quite give it a 5.
Okay.
But what I am going to do is give it a 4.5, and I think that's a
Okay.
very fair rating.
I
for
think that is a
Miss
very
Wanda.
fair rate for Miss Wanda Jackson. And yes, and
It's
Ian is
fun.
saying here, didn't Wanda and Elvis have a romantic relationship for a while? And yes, they did have a romantic relationship for a while.
Elvis had a lot of romantic relationships.
Amanda wishing she could trade places with Wanda Jackson for a little bit during
If
that time.
I would have been Priscilla.
You would have been Priscilla?
100%. Well, I would have tried to be at least. I mean, you can't
Elvis.
you can't get a yes unless you risk a no. I mean,
Wow. There you go.
there we go.
There you go.
Marcus knows. Marcus
knows. You got a hall pass for Elvis.
Since Elvis has God rest his soul,
Yeah.
we don't even have to, pretend. But
Right.
love me some Elvis.
Love you some Elvis. Love you some Elvis. So, all right. So listen, I take your 4.5 for Wanda Jackson's Mean, Mean Man. So now getting into your first song, to me, considering we have so much Elvis talk going on, it's Elvis.
Sorry, guys.
It's Now or Never. And by the way, another notable thing from 1960 is that this was the year that Elvis, after a 2-year stint in the military, returned from Germany.
Yes,
Comes
indeed.
back after enlisting in the army.
Mhm.
He comes back. And so this is the return. This year is the return of Elvis back to United States soil. from after doing a 2-year stint in the military where he was honorably
Absolutely.
discharged.
And leading up to those GI Blues.
GI Blues, and also another notable Elvis moment this year, because we've got
Go on.
Go on.
Go
and
on.
I got a feeling your list was purposely, I feel like your list, because you bookended your list, and this is something that notably happened in 1960, which is pretty significant in the sense from pop culture, is that on May 12th, on the Frank Sinatra special, Elvis makes an appearance. And the TV special was broadcast on ABC television entitled The Frank Sinatra Timex Show, where Welcome Home Elvis. Sinatra, who made his hatred of rock and roll music known, sang duets with Elvis to Love Me Tender and Witchcraft. The TV special was viewed by a whopping 41.5% of Americans' viewing audience that evening.
That's very impressive.
That is the bridging of the two cultures for sure, and Frank actually continuing to be a huge star right up into the 90s, by the way.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a clashing of the cultures in a sense of like the old and the new. Even though it was 1960, Frank had already been a huge star in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And Elvis still, and Elvis being still a huge star, still early in his career there. But I mean, that was a very significant pop culture moment for those two. And yeah, Frank used to always be like, I hate rock and roll, I hate rock music. So the fact that him and Elvis got together, did a duet and all that kind of shows the power of those two people coming together, who were still incredible, who both also had records released in 1960.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Two forces to be reckoned with.
Very significant. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about this song.
It's now or
It's
never.
now. Yeah. This is, I think, one of Elvis's, and this was actually one of Elvis's favorite songs to sing, as confirmed by Priscilla, by the way. She did confirm that he has said it, and she confirmed that this is one of his favorite songs to sing. This is one of these Elvis like crooner type songs that was definitely done in that style, which is funny once again, being with like Frank and Dino and those guys who were the crooner kings, Tony Bennett. It was interesting to hear Elvis do something like this. So this was something that, how the story goes, is that when Elvis was in the army, he was stationed in Germany, and he heard O Sole Mio, which is the original version of this song. When he was discharged, he asked his record company to write an English translation for him, a task that went into songwriters Aaron Schroeder and Wally Gold, who, according to Gold, did it in 30 minutes. It was a huge hit, knocking Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini
Love that song.
from the top spot in America and staying on the charts for 5 weeks. Stayed at number 1 for 5 weeks. It's pretty funny, though. But, yeah, he said that in 1957, Frank Sinatra said of Elvis that this song was quite a stretch. And when he gets into something serious, a bigger kind of singing, we'll find out if he is a singer. That's what he said of Elvis back in 57. And, boy, I think Elvis proved Frank wrong on that one, because Elvis definitely is in fine vocal form on it. I think this song really does show off Elvis's vocal chops for more than, a rockabilly guy, like kind of how we just heard not that Wanda Jackson's got a terrible voice, but like I think it really let Elvis shine in a way that I think to this point in time you hadn't really heard him sing like this. Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely.
As a resident Elvis fan of our group, even though some people will call you a poser.
Well, to the poser hater, that's why I enjoy his music in his later years, because I think it does showcase his vocals and what he wanted to sing a little bit more. Like I've said over and over and over to this point, this is one of his favorite songs to sing, and rightfully so. I mean, it's a really special song. And he even has a connection to the second song that I gave you too, and he has an amazing cover of it. So Elvis is kind of trickled in every song I sent your way this week.
And what's funny, too, is I was reading this, so according to songfacts.com, the next single he would release after this. So he did this, and then the second single was Are You Lonesome Tonight? And that was a cover of a 1926 song. And it was also a massive hit. And this is what led a lot of people to wonder if Elvis was a kind of abandoning his rock roots and becoming more of a crooner, because both songs were very, in that crooner style.
Yeah.
But yes, it was more, and as Song Facts points out, in hindsight, he was branching out, maturing as an artist by exploring different musical styles.
Yeah.
Rock and roll didn't go anywhere, and he entered a new phase for a few years later, when the British invasion would take over.
There you
So
go.
once again, guys, we're talking about the year 1960, and this is before the British invasion happened, which I do want to point out that a lot of the artists that we're talking about here, these are the artists, and we talked about it a bit on our last episode with our funeral songs, because we were talking about Led Zeppelin, right? And one of the things we talked is that the American music was being imported into England. And those English artists that would become the British invasion were hearing this stuff and digesting it and being like, oh my God, and learning how to play their instruments, how to write songs by hearing American imports like Elvis, like Frank Sinatra, like a lot of the other artists, like Wanda Jackson, the stuff that we're going to start talking about more of. And it's because of these records that came out that you would have the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Kinks, all the bands that would be part of the British invasion. Really, they'll all say it's because of the American music that was coming in to Britain is why you got what you got later on. And only a few short years later is when that would go gangbusters.
For sure. For sure.
So let's listen to a little bit. If no one's ever heard this song before, it's now or never.
There are a lot of people who have not.
Yeah, I mean, it is a crooner tune. I mean, it's definitely one where he's, he showcases. Love it.
It's now or never. Come hold me tight. Kiss me, my darling. Be mine tonight. Tomorrow will be too late. It's now or never. My love won't wait. When I first saw you,
I love the
with your
piano in this.
smile
It's so great.
my heart was captured.
It's such a... Just imagine him singing to a lady in the crowd.
I know.
He gives, a scarf to her.
Vegas, jumpsuit Vegas Elvis singing this.
Now that you knew
roses.
the time is here.
Singing right to you, Amanda. Looking right in your eyes.
I'm there.
It's now or never. Come hold me tight. Kiss me, my darling.
Oh, I just love me some Elvis.
Yeah, this is definitely, and this is coming off of the 50 greatest hits. This is definitely one of Elvis' greatest hits for sure. And as I said, this spent 8 weeks. It's saying here. I think I said something a little earlier, 5 weeks, but it's saying it's Now or Never hit number 1 on November 3rd, 1960, 2.5 months after reaching the top in America, and stayed for 8 weeks, the longest of any Elvis single, by the way.
See?
And what was interesting here, so some other interesting facts about this song is that Bill Porter was the American engineer who helped shape the Nashville sound and recorded such stars as Everly Brothers and Elvis and Roy Orbison from the 50s to the 70s. Had said that he recalled one particular session with Elvis on April 3rd through 4th in 1960, which included this song. Said in those 2 days, this is amazing. In those 2 days, we recorded 12 songs, 2 of which went to number 1. Porter remembered. Elvis was having trouble with It's Now or Never because he basically sang it in the baritone range, and the end was in the tenor range. We re-recorded the song for at least 7 or 8 takes. At one point, I finally pushed the talk back button and said, Elvis, we can just do the ending. I could splice it on without doing the song all the way through again. He answered me with, Bill, I'm going to do it all the way through, or I'm not going to do it at all.
Boom.
So we did it again, and of course, he got it the way he wanted it. So there you go. Elvis just being like...
And I can hear it in his voice.
I'm doing it. We're not splicing it. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. And one more funny stat about this, which I think is great, is Barry White heard the song in 1960 when he was in jail for stealing tires. The song had such an impact on him that it convinced him to pursue a career in music. Isn't that like... I
mean... When I read that, my jaw, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, what an awesome little tidbit.
Like Elvis in my darkest hour.
Yep.
And Barry White's a phenomenal contribution to music So, oh my lord.
Yeah.
Stealing
So
tires.
so where do I rate Elvis Presley's
Yeah, tell
version
me.
of It's Now or Never? Listen,
Tell me.
great song, definitely a hit. It's not, and when I've talked about this a lot, I'm not an Elvis fan like you, even though some would dispute your fandom. I will
Jerks.
not dispute your fandom. I know you're a big fan. You don't have to convince me. However, I am not. I would say I'm more of a casual Elvis listener. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I would choose to pick It's Now or Never, but it is a very good song, and I've heard it at a bunch of weddings, and it's nice. It's a nice song, so I'm not going to turn it off either. I just know if I would choose to put this on as far as Elvis stuff goes. I actually prefer a lot more of the rock and stuff, and I've talked. I love some of the a lot more some 70s Elvis like you.
Sure.
There's so many good Elvis rockin' numbers. So I do agree this is a good showcase of his vocals. I think it's a great song. I would not turn it off if it came on. I just wouldn't choose to put this on. So for all those things being said, I'm going to firmly rate It's Now or Never at a 4.2.
Okay, that's higher than I
records. Because I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. It's not one of my favorite Elvis songs, and I wouldn't necessarily go, hey, let me put this one on. But I'm certainly not saying, oh my God, turn this off or skip it. So that's not where I'm at with this.
I feel like prior to the show.
Yes.
Before SSS.
Yes, before SSS.
I would argue, I couldn't imagine you necessarily going, I'm going to listen to Elvis today at all and putting anything on ever.
No,
so I mean, to your point, I don't think you would have skipped it, but I just don't think Elvis is your style whatsoever. So I have given you so much Elvis, probably more than you ever thought you'd ever have in your lifetime.
I would agree with that. I think because of you and doing this show, I've listened to way more Elvis than I ever would have listened to. But there's definitely Elvis songs that have made playlists of mine in the past. So
sure. Did your parents like Elvis?
It's a great question.
Didn't.
I think my parents, I remember my parents talking about Elvis. Obviously, they grew up with Elvis. It never was something that I felt like that they would go to put on. Because, like I said, I always remember growing up in a very Beatles-heavy household. So I think the Beatles probably made more of an impact on them, being the ages they were, having been both born in the mid-50s. So I think the Beatles and Elvis, I think it probably for them, just trying to think, like, I don't ever remember listening to a ton of Elvis in the house, but I remember Elvis being on the radio too. So, especially the radio stations back in the day, especially, CBS FM used to always be on in the house. So Elvis would be played on that for sure. Like the oldies station. Cousin Brucey.
I love it. All right. Yeah. Well, I take your 4.2. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. So, hey, listen, guys, before we go on, just a really quick word here is that Amanda and I, we have started a Patreon account. Now, we've had it now for a couple months, and people have been asking us, hey, how do we get more of what we do? How do we request things? How do we request more videos? Because, listen, we put a lot of stuff out on YouTube, right? But there are certain videos and things like that where I don't know if our YouTube community would always be into it or not, but we love taking requests. So listen, on our Patreon account, we take a lot of requests. We have fun. We create videos. There's videos on there that YouTube won't even let us put on there. So we have to put it on Patreon. So we're having a lot of fun in that Patreon group. So listen, if you want to get more of what we're doing and also support the show, more importantly, is to show the show some support, we ask that you join our Patreon account. It is free to join. You can try it out for 7 days, and from after that, you can pick from a level that makes sense for you. We always recommend our $1.50 level, which is our fun little tribute to Costco's hot dog and soda menu item. So, and for that, you get a little sticker and all that. But every membership there has its perks, so feel free to check it out. You can use the link in our notes right now or scan the QR code on the screen if you're watching us, and then that way you can give it a try and check it out. I do want to take a moment to officially say thank you to some of our Patreon members: Mark Ronick, Dave Mattingly, Mr. Ian from Australia, Johnny Beyond in the back of the cereal box crew. And if you would like to be thanked publicly like this, just join, sign up, at least give it a try. It's free to try it out. See if you like it. Amanda and I are creating more content for it right after today's show.
We are.
So we are. So you want to get in there, check that out. Do not miss it. Do not miss it. So I just want to recognize some of our comments here too. So we got some picks as usual. Dave Mattingly sharing his picks for us. So Dave is saying, my songs for Chris: Bob Azam, Mustafa, Charlie Ryan, Hot Rod Lincoln, and Johnny and the Hurricanes, Amanda's favorite, with Beatnik Fly.
What a name. Beatnik.
Love it. So Johnny and the Hurricanes, as we know, is Red Rock is going to be Amanda's funeral procession theme. His songs for Amanda are Jan and Killed? Kajil?
I don't know, but Banjo Boy. And I did listen to that, and that was really, really good. And it was a top contender. Top contender.
Marty Robbins, El Paso.
And we discovered that I had already played that one for the show when we were doing city ones. So that one had to get off my list.
Yes. That one was off your list. And we did. I know there's a Steve Martin version, which we did do a video one time. It was never released. And I don't know if it's coming out of the archives or not. I don't know if it was one of our finer videos, but we'll see. We'll see. Michael Cox with Angela Jones.
Very good recommendations.
And then Ian from Australia giving his picks for today. For Amanda, 3 country greats: Mother by Slim Dusty, El Paso, Jimmy Little. And that's,
I haven't heard that one.
And That's How It's Gonna Be by Johnny Chester.
Nice names. I like it.
I'm
going to check those out.
There you go. And I think that's it for the picks for today.
Very good.
So if you guys have any picks or suggestions for us, if you're watching live, let us know. Pop it in the comments, and we will talk about it right now, live here on the air, on the interwebs.
In real time.
In real time. All right, Amanda.
Yes. Your second song to me was Comanche by Link Wray.
Yes.
Wray. Did I say that just right?
Link Wray.
I hadn't heard this song before, but I felt like it was very similar to the Tequila song.
This is this time. So Link Wray, really his big song, and you've heard, is Rumble. I mean, Rumble is which I think everybody's heard Rumble. I mean, do you know what I'm talking about when I say Rumble?
I'm sure I have to
Hold
know.
on. Let me do
Play me some Rumble.
Let me play you a little bit of Rumble, because you're going to be like, oh, okay.
While you're pulling up Rumble, I feel like the guitar part on this would be a person who likes guitar's dream. Like, it would be fun to try and learn how to play, showcase it. So I felt like I could see why you like this song.
Yes, this is, and Link Wray is really credited with kind of inventing the sound. I mean,
so this is Rumble?
This is Rumble. I mean, this has been used in countless soundtracks.
Interesting. I'm sure I've been exposed to this several times.
So, Link Wray, if you don't have Link Wray, you don't have Jimmy Page. You don't have a lot of the Pete Townsend, like a lot of Eric Clapton. You don't have these guitarists coming up, because Link Wray, their exposure to hearing Link Wray is, I mean, we were just talking about it, but hearing a guy like that play guitar that no one had really heard play guitar like that before, that tremolo sound, or just that, once again, he's not even singing, but the attitude that comes through there, like, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so badass. Like, listen to this. It's distorted. It's crunchy. It's like dirty. Like, what is this? Like,
I feel like you're describing an episode of American Pickers right now, how they're always like rusty gold.
Basically. Basically, yeah. I mean, it really is. It's rusty gold, but like, he, and this is really out of the fact that like he couldn't sing because he had some kind of vocal thing. And so he originally had a band with his brother and all that, but like he couldn't, so he just focused on playing guitar, and he just invented this whole, and obviously surf music and all that was huge, which I'm a huge fan of surf music stuff. And so you had bands like the Ventures and the Shadow, like a lot of these bands, but Link Wray was different because he just had that, like, man, he sounded like a badass. And so, Comanche was off of that in 1960. This record was released, which was Link Wray, and I forgot what the heck is the name of the record right now. I'm blanking out. Oh, here it is. I just had it up. Oh yeah, Link Wray and Oh my gosh, I just lost it. Here we go.
While
Live
you're-
on the air, blowing it right now.
No, while you're finding it.
There
I
it
feel
is,
like-
Link Wray and the Raymen. I'm looking, I'm staring right at it. Yeah, Link Wray and the Raymen, which is their debut studio
Raymen,
album,
that's
and this
really
came out in
funny.
1960, and then eventually just became Link Wray. Just he dropped the Rayman and just become Link
Sure.
Wray. So
It's interesting because what you just played, Rumble, it seems very like rigid, like exclamation pointy,
yes, it is.
where the Comanche one is definitely more like commas.
It is.
Like,
It's fun. It's
a lot more upbeat.
yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, like basically you're like you hear rumble and rumble and you
Yeah.
something's going down.
Yeah,
Like,
something's
there's
going
a
down.
rumble
Yeah.
about to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas Comanche's much more fun, loving it, and much closer to like the surf sound and things that were going.
I was gonna say like twist your waist type of dance. You know,
Yeah.
that beach dance. You're absolutely right. And I pull up that Dave comment one more time because I did not think there would be a day ever that Dave would say somehow Link Wray never hit his radar.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, can you believe this? I don't even know. Mark it down on the calendar.
Mark it down. write it in my journal.
For newer listeners, you don't know this about Dave, but Dave knows everything about everything musically,
Yeah.
at least. He's new wave Dave, and so this
He
is
is
a
new
big
wave
day
Dave.
for us, Dave. Wow.
We were able to expose Dave to something.
That's so exciting. We'll play a little bit of this
Of Comanche.
beach dance Comanche because it's fun.
It is.
It's really fun.
It's a good one.
So when you have this on your playlist, like is this on like a summer barbecue playlist? Like where do you put it?
Oh yeah. I mean that guitar sound. Like you don't have the White Stripes without Link Wray.
I do like the White Stripes.
I mean, Jack White will talk about Link Wray forever.
Like tequila.
I mean, come on.
I can just see a mess of kids getting together, doing some stuff maybe they don't need to be doing,
Yeah.
having fun in the summer.
It's just great. I mean, it's just such fun music to listen to. And just once again, so much attitude and swagger and everything loaded in playing instrumental music. Like back in 1960. And like he was already, 1958, he was recording already. But like, I'm telling you, like this Link Wray's sound that he basically created. We talk about influences like the whole garage rock sound, and between him and once again bands like the Beatles, the Who, Led Zeppelin, the Kinks, like they hear this stuff and they're like blown away, and all they're trying to do is emulate it and be like, oh my god, this is great, this is what American music sounds like. We are now, and that's, you can draw a straight line to that 100%. So Little history lesson for you folks. Get into some Link Wray. I'm telling you, dive into the Link Wray catalog. You're gonna be like, oh my god, I didn't know that was this song, or that was, and you could hear
Sure.
like where other popular songs came from by listening to Link Wray.
I feel like it's probably really timely, at least here in the States, summer type of music to play.
It is, and it's just and it's very like atmospheric, and you've heard a lot of Link Wray stuff in a lot of soundtracks, TV shows, all that stuff.
I'm gonna have to deep dive into that.
And Dave saying, Link Wray paved the way for Lou Reed, Lux Interior from the Cramps, all that. Yes, 1,000%. Blaze the trail.
All right, are you
So
ready
Amanda,
I'm a little nervous.
oh, here we go. I know
There
this
you
isn't always your
go.
cup of tea, but
No, but
hey, very important to the world of rock music.
100%. So I feel like I'm not going to turn this one on, but I'm not going to skip it.
Right.
I love to sing, so I really like lyrics, and I'm not really good at dancing.
Right.
So this wouldn't be, something that I'd go, oh, I can kind of just like, we all know my dorky shoulder bop. So, I mean, while it does apply, it just doesn't, I just feel like this isn't something that I'm going to go, oh, this is what I want to listen to. So with that being said, I'm going to give this a 3.8. But for those who may be hating me, They're listening to this going, Amanda. 3.8 is still very above average.
It is. It is.
Our 3 is kind of that that line of above or below can make or break something. So 3.8 I think is very good.
3.8 is very, very good. Very good.
Phew.
Yeah. So before we continue on and we go to Amanda's second song, just some other notable stuff in 1960.
Bring it on.
Some other notable stuff in 1960. So we did talk about how Elvis had his 2-year stint in Germany. He came back. But some other things. A little band called the Beatles.
The Beatles.
While they did not come here in America yet, that wasn't going to happen for another few years. And in August 17th of 1960, they began a 48 residency engagement at the Indra Club in Hamburg, West Germany, with original drummer Pete Best. Yeah, 48 night. That's crazy. Like they were already doing a residency kind of thing.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I often, when I get very tired from say working a lot or moving a lot around, just doing a lot of stuff, I look at musicians and how hard they work when they're working.
Yeah.
Like right now, Meghan Trainor is in Germany, and I'll tell you, I don't even really like her music, but I really dig her as she's on my radar from a really good business person. And so she's over that way for 2 weeks without her babies, I believe. And I'm like, oh my gosh. The sacrifice that some of these artists make because that's their career.
Yeah. And at this point, the Beatles were not big yet. I mean, this was they're just four guys playing. I mean, Ringo's not even in the band yet at this point.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So there's 48 nights, and I mean, just the commitment that they have to trying to become successful. I just applaud them. It's a sacrifice that I don't think I could do that.
In Germany, coming from England and all that. It's just crazy. And to think it's only a few short years away, they're about to change music.
They had no clue.
No clue. What was going to be happening. So in 1960, that's going on. And then by 63, they're changing pop music forever.
Just remarkable.
Yeah, crazy.
Just remarkable.
June 16th, the very little movie premiered.
Just a little baby movie.
Called Psycho in the United States by Alfred Hitchcock in 1960.
Man, what an iconic.
You know that movie?
That was 1960?
1960. Premiered in the United States, yes.
I was thinking it was a little bit after that. That was risky.
Yeah, I know. July 11th, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee is published. Is the bestseller for 41 weeks, and then it awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1961.
What a book. I mean, I had to read that in school.
I mean, I think everybody read To Kill a Mockingbird in school. I mean, that's a standard of American literature.
I mean, what a
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And to think that's old. Wow.
Yeah. At the 32nd Academy Awards ceremony, Ben-Hur wins a record 11 Oscars, including Best Picture that year. Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston.
All of these big name actors and actresses that.
Yep.
Wow.
On August 6th, Chubby Checker performs his dance, The Twist, on the Dick Cavett Show and starts a worldwide dance craze.
Come on, baby.
Come on, baby. Do the twist.
Do the twist. Wow. All these things. Major moments.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a couple more too, and then we'll get to it, is September 5th, 1960 Summer Olympics, Muhammad Ali, and at this time he was still under the name Cassius Clay, wins United States gold medal in light heavyweight boxing.
Wow.
Yep. And in September 30th, a small cartoon.
Oh, sneak it in right before 61.
Yep. A small cartoon hits on September 30th. Premieres on ABC, The Flintstones.
I really dug that as a kid.
Yeah, The Flintstones, which basically feels like a parody of the Honeymooners. I mean, it's basically the Honeymooners in cartoon form.
I love it. I love that. And the Jetsons. Yeah. Ooh, yes.
So a couple pop culture references there. And I know a lot of things happen, but we're not going to.
But that's some big. Those are some big things just in one year.
Yeah, and we'll go through. I picked out some notable things that happened in politics that year as well in 1960. So we'll go through that in a little bit. But Amanda, I want to get to your second song because we're 56 minutes into the show.
We're having a great time.
We're having a great time. And we're glad you guys are all hanging out with us too. Thank you, everybody who's
Thank
hanging out with us
you.
on the live feed. And by the way, Dave is saying Comanche is a 4.5 for him.
You know, and I can get that for you, Dave.
Yeah. He also loves the sharp in your background.
Thank you, Dave.
Because that's your last name.
That's my last name.
That's my last name. It's Amanda, that girl. Sharp.
That's me.
That's you. So your second song was He'll Have to Go by Jim Reeves. Now,
Ooh.
I was not familiar with Jim Reeves.
Oh my! Wow.
Not familiar with Jim Reeves.
For sure, you would be.
And unfortunately,
I
I did find out, and I didn't know that he was also so many famous like singers died in these plane crashes, and he was somebody who passed away in a plane crash, basically at the height of his powers, at the height of his career, just as he's really like breaking, and and he passed away, but. He did leave a lot of great music, and he is possibly one of, when it comes to country, he was one of the biggest pop stars at the time for country, according to what I've read. And once I didn't know a lot of the stuff that was here, but this song in particular was one that I believe went to number one for him on the charts, if I can find that, because I did have that up. But he, here it is. Yeah, so this was He'll Have to Go, and this charted number one. And this was, and the B-side to the song, because it was released as a single, was In a Mansion Stands My Love. And this is from the album He'll Have to Go and Other Favorites.
This is... So I'll be honest, I like Elvis's version better.
Yeah, so I was just going to say Elvis did a version of this. I didn't know that, but Elvis did do a version of this.
But this version, there's something very like romantic about this song to me. I don't know what it is. When I hear this, I'm like, let's listen again. It's so silly. But I think it's the notes that are sung.
So interesting enough too with this song, and I did say it hit number one, so I want to clarify real quick because I do want to get some of my facts right. So it hit number one on the hot country charts. However, it was kept out of the Billboard's Hot 100 at the time by Percy Faith's Theme from a Summer Place.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
This stayed at number two, and it just couldn't beat that song, but it did reach number one on hot country charts and sat there for 14 weeks.
As it should have. As it should have.
14 weeks it sat there. And it actually, across the world, it hit number one in Australia, number one in Canada, number one in Norway, number 12 in UK. So, and obviously we did talk about Elvis did his version in 1976 and was known and said it is said to be one of his last known studio recording sessions, and also believed to be the final song he ever recorded in a studio setting. Elvis doing this song.
God rest his soul.
The song also prompted the answer song "He'll Have to Stay" by Jimmy Black. Her song reached number 6 on Billboard in 1960, apparently. So she did a callback song to this.
Which would make sense because this was released in 59.
Yeah.
So that gave a little bit of time to do a callback song.
Yeah. And so, it was released in 59 on the record, but didn't hit until the song didn't really chart until the 60s. So that's why it's on this list. So, all right. So let's take a listen to this because it's a very sweet ballad. It's a country ballad. Country. Amanda's favorite type of music, country ballads. I do.
This is just a very...
Very velvety. I agree with that.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Does he have a Christmas record?
Let's pretend
yes.
we're together all alone. I'll tell the man
this
to
note
turn
coming up.
The jukebox way down low.
Oh, that note right there just is like,
and you can
that baritone, man.
Yes, that when it hits, it just gets my gut.
Whisper to me, tell me, do you love me true? Or is he holding you the way I do?
Yeah, So Jim Reeves, definitely a very smooth song, very smooth sound, great
you
voice.
Humor me,
Yes.
but mostly the audience, because they want to listen to Elvis's version of this. Would you play a little bit of that?
Yes. Let me find Elvis's
Chris
version.
is like, enough Elvis, Amanda. I'm out of control. And yes, Jim has Christmas songs.
Because I can hear him. Okay, here's the Elvis version. All right.
Get ready, everyone. Oh, get ready.
Let me find the Elvis. There's a lot of Elvis on today's show.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize.
This is so good. I just can't. Oh, and like, oh yeah, Moody Blues is such a good album. Oh, just listen. Oh.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
And still Elvis in 1976 still has a great voice.
And we're together.
Just humor me and get to that note.
Tell the man, turn the jukebox way down low.
There it is.
Sing it, Elvis. Yes. Oh.
You can tell a friend that with you, you'll have to go.
He'll have to go.
Gosh,
No, definitely a cool tune. I
they're
mean,
both really
smoothness
great in
of this
their
song.
own ways. Elvis put his spin to it. Jim has his. I love them both.
Yeah. Hey everybody, pardon the interruption, but we did have a quick technical error during the show, so unfortunately you're not able to hear my rating on the song that we were just talking about, which is Jim Reeves' He'll Have to Go. My record rating on that was 3.7 records for Amanda's song. When we come right out of this, we're going to be jumping right in to talking about my next song pick, which was Stay by Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs. And without further ado, back to the show.
So this movie, and I think you would probably agree with me, and I know we're talking about the song, but I just think it's so well known for the movie Dirty Dancing that watching it as a kid was one thing.
Right.
Watching it as a 42-year-old parent is a whole nother.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience watching it now.
I mean, baby was 17.
Yeah. And it's funny too. I mean, and not that it's funny, but like that movie really deals with some really like deep themes, like really deep stuff. I mean, and yes, and you're right. From like watching it when it originally came out, which didn't make any difference, but it definitely hits different.
Yes.
From a younger age to now, because you go, wow, this is some serious stuff, and then also the fact of the time that's set in as well, like, which is also another, like, it's not set in like modern era. It's already a look back in time already. And the soundtrack to Dirty Dancing is absolutely awesome.
Agreed.
But this song, I really like the song. And the thing about this song too, which is great, is that it is so short, but yet really packs a punch.
It does. It does.
It's just a really great, well-written song. And it just goes to show that not every song has to be like some like long, like banger to be a banger. Like
no.
It literally clocks in at 1 minute and 38 seconds and is the shortest ever US #1 hit on the Hot 100. To ever hit the Hot 100. It says group leader Maurice Williams wrote the song one Saturday night in the summer of 1955 at his home in Lancaster, South Carolina, which is where my parents now live, in Lancaster, South Carolina. He had a beautiful 15-year-old girl over, but by the way, Williams was also similar age. They want to note here, but it was 10 o'clock at night and he couldn't convince her to stay, even just a little bit longer. Her parents were very strict about her curfew, so Williams could only watch as her brother picked her up and drove her off. Williams quickly wrote down his pleas, which became the song's lyric. He didn't think much of it, but 4 years later, when he would lead his group, Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs, they needed a B-side for the single, Do You Believe? So Williams had them record it, and Stay got the A-side and went to #1 in November 1960, 5 years after Williams conceived it. Can you believe that? So, yeah, I mean, this is a song that I think everybody should know. And, man, talk about a song that gets you moving. This is a good one. So here's a little bit of Stay by Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs.
Just a little bit longer. Please, 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 please tell me you're coming to. Now you better not mind, and your mommy don't mind. We have another dancing girl, just so one more.
I love that.
I think that part is
That
the
falsetto.
most recognized.
By the way, the falsetto is not Maurice Williams, but that is group member Shane Gaston.
And that part is probably, to me, the most iconic part of all of the song.
Definitely the big part is what makes the song so successful.
It's showstopper.
Because it really makes it pop because you don't expect it.
Mhm.
And here it comes like soaring out of nowhere. This amazing falsetto.
Yeah.
And so the Four Seasons actually hit number 16 in the US with their version of this song. And also features, who did the high vocals in the Four Seasons? Mr. Frankie Valli. So in the 1978, Jackson Browne hit number 20 with the song as a single released with Loadout, which was a tribute to his roadies. And Jackson Browne often ends his concerts with Stay following the Loadout. And that's how the Running on Empty album ends. Oh my gosh, Chris.
You got there.
Read the words written on the paper, Chris. On Brown's version of falsetto vocals are by David Lindley, and the female vocals are by Rosemary Butler. The Four Seasons kept the song short at 1:53, but Brown stretched it to 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And as I said, this song runs in the original version at just 1:38, making it the shortest number one hit in the history.
I think that's really cool.
The Billboard Hot 100.
Really, really cool. And Dave
Yeah.
coming in with a hot take here, which I find very interesting. And I'm not surprised probably by Dave's
I'm
view
not
on
surprised.
this. I've never understood the popularity of Dirty Dancing. And if I'm being completely honest, and Ian is also coming in and saying the exact same thing, Song of Five, movie of one.
Yeah.
I feel like they had, what was it about Dirty Dancing that was so popular? Was it Patrick Swayze being in it, do you think?
I mean, Patrick Swayze, definitely a big star at the time. I think it was just the right combination. And the soundtrack. I mean, I think that this is one of these movies where it just goes to show how important music is to a film. The soundtrack for this film is iconic. And I think at the right time was a right blend of nostalgia for a lot of folks at this age, who had hit that age, who grew up with these songs. And the film, and I think the combination just made it a complete juggernaut of a film. And I think a lot of people just really, people enjoyed it, and they enjoyed the dancing scenes, and it was, it was hot.
The dancing was pretty.
It was a lot of good dancing, and
yeah,
Patrick Swayze was a big star. He was a big star, and that film almost didn't even get made. There's a great Netflix has got that series, The Movies That Made Us, and there's a great whole thing about how this film even came about and was almost, I think it was thrown away in the garbage, the script. There's a lot of this movie was pretty much never even supposed to be made, and somehow it finally got made, and then the soundtrack really propelled it.
I think, and for that, Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner. I almost feel like if that quote was not in there, in that dance scene at the end, I mean, to think how many weddings that dance you've probably seen so many of the dances, but
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well,
all right.
Where do I rate this song?
Where are you rating Stay?
I really like this song. I'm gonna do it at a 4.0. I think it's
all right.
It's
4.0.
Very comfortable there.
Yes. Okay. Very good. So one of the things that I did bring up, and I guess it was muted, according to what was said. I don't know what was said and what was heard.
You could hear you. I was hearing static, and they thought muffled. So pretty sure that there was some connection that you could hear.
I'm just going to repeat some of this stuff so that way we've got it for the recording.
Perfect.
But back, I was just saying, so some of the notable things that happened in U.S. political and culture at this time in 1960. Some notable things.
Yes.
And there was a lot that happened around the world globally. But once again, I'm not making this an entire history show here. But February 1st in Greensboro, North Carolina, 4 black students began a sit-in at the segregated Woolworth's lunch counter. Although they refused service, they are allowed to stay at the counter. The event triggers many similar nonviolent protests throughout the southern United States. And 6 months later, the original 4 protesters are served lunch at the same counter. So 1960, landmark year that starts a lot of, the changes that are going to happen in American culture.
And if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like I've seen pictures of the other customers putting like ketchup on them, mustard on them. Like, weren't they getting covered in like condiments? And
I think so. I didn't go that deep into it. I
feel like I've seen that. It was awful. And thank God it's now 2024.
Yeah, for
in
real.
that aspect. Because
yeah. I mean, and this is why, the 60s are a very important time in American history as far as what's going to happen with all the changes and all the leaders that will rise up and change things. So in March 6th, though, the United States announces that 3,500 American soldiers will be sent to Vietnam, officially starting our Vietnam, our occupation and war and all that stuff in Vietnam. May 6th, President Dwight Eisenhower at the time signs the Civil Rights Act of 1960 into law. So very, very notable, huge moment in American history there. And of course, in November 8th, 1960, the presidential election that year happens between Robert F. Kennedy and the vice president, Richard Nixon, in which John Kennedy wins the election in a very close race and becomes the second youngest man to serve as president of the United States and the youngest man ever elected to this position. So,
really, when you think of his age, and I don't know the exact age he was, but what a baby to think that he was running a country at that age. I mean, amazing.
Crazy, yeah.
It is crazy.
And thus begins the era, I said it before, thus begins the era of Camelot. Quote unquote Camelot with the Kennedy presidency.
Oh, goodness. All the legacy that they've led in all the places, for sure.
Yep. So,
some
all
good
right.
nuggets. Thank you for sharing those.
You are welcome. So, with our last song of the day.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Now we're in 20 minutes in.
somehow we've made it to the last song of the day. Old Blue Eyes himself.
Yeah.
Frankie baby. The chairman of the board. Frank Sinatra with the classic Try a Little Tenderness. Now, I will say, I never heard Frank's version of this before. My preferred version is, of course,
Michael
think the
Bublé.
most superior. No.
Oh.
Michael Bublé. Otis Redding's
okay.
version of this song. His version, to me, is the superior version of this song.
We'll have to play maybe in an additional clip when we're recording after this, all 3 versions. I was like, I said Michael Bublé like 1,000% that would be it.
Michael Bublé.
It's so good.
Michael Bublé. It's Michael Bublé.
It's Michael Bublé.
So, but yeah, this song actually has got quite a history about it. Try a Little Tenderness, because it was originally written, I believe, in 1928, I believe. So let me get here real quick. Oh, here it is. Got it back up. So it's actually a standard. It's an American standard song. So you had Frank Sinatra record it, Mel Torme recorded it, Bing Crosby recorded it, but it was originally written by Jimmy Carroll in 1933, actually. So I got the date wrong on that.
But well before its popularity.
Yeah, well before its popularity. So this was a song, though, that really was covered by a lot of artists, for sure. And there
and
is,
you know,
again,
when you listen to it,
mm-hmm.
it really, I don't feel like the words alone are enough to make it be such a hit and so many people cover it. It's very interesting to me. It's truly, I feel like, the presentation of those who sing it that just make it so good, because I think the presentation is much better than the lyrics itself.
Yeah, the song was written, so 1933, Campbell and Connolly were a British songwriting team who often collaborated with their composer. In this case, it was an American, Harry Woods. In 1962, Aretha Franklin recorded the song, and it charted at number 100 in the U.S. at a time when most singles when most of her singles actually failed to get much higher. Her arrangement was similar to that than previous crooner versions, and her vocal relatively restrained. It was Otis Redding who did the definitive soul version of the song, complete with horns, organ, and uninhibited vocal that builds in intensity as the song progresses. And that's why I just absolutely love his version of the song. I think Frankie Baby, he definitely does it in the traditional crooner way.
Of course.
So that's why for me, like, after growing up and hearing the Otis Redding version forever, and even Aretha's version, and it's hard for me to actually hear the Frank version because it's missing, to me, it's missing all that. But Frank's version is more of the traditional version of the song.
It's a Frankie version.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's 100% a crooner thing. So I'll play a little bit of that. And I agree. Like, we should do a little back and forth on this and go through some of the different versions. I think people would hopefully get a kick out of that. let's see.
We hope.
Yeah, we hope. All right, so here's a little bit of Frank's version of Try a Little Tenderness.
In the hustle of the day, we're all inclined to miss
Big difference, man.
little things that mean so much. A word, a smile, and a kiss. When a woman loves a man, he's a hero in her eyes, and a hero he can always be if he'll just realize.
This is where this is my part that I like.
Yeah.
She may be weary, women do get weary, wearing the same shabby dress. And when she's weary, try a little tenderness.
What do you think it is about Frank Sinatra that caused him to be it?
So it's a great question. I think as a combination, once again, I think Frank's voice is definitely, I mean, you always know it's Frank singing. I mean, listen, you could say the same thing about Dino and Tony Bennett, but I think it's just once again, it was a right combination at the right time when Frank made it big. And of course, Old Blue Eyes, good looking guy from New Jersey.
Yeah, the Rat Pack type of package.
It's the swagger, it's the attitude, it's a little bit of the tough guy sensibility, but like has an amazing voice. Plus, too, Frank, at this point, too, actually, I think it was either this year or the year after, he basically creates Reprise Records and essentially starts a movement of giving artists a little bit more control over their music and what they're recording. And I also think, too, Frank, while he recorded a lot of standards, like Frank didn't write music, but Frank was a great arranger of music. An excellent arranger, and he had an amazing ear and really worked well with the musicians that he worked with. He was very good in the studio. I mean, he was a great performer too. I mean, there's a lot of things about Frank Sinatra that makes him a little bit more unique and makes him stand out, I think, above a lot of the crooners at that time for doing what he does. And I think one of them really comes down to his being able to take traditional pop songs of the time and make these arrangements that just hit with people and made them very memorable in that style, at a time when this kind of music was big. In 1960, as we talked about, is like it's the start of the change. Like we're only a few short years away from the British invasion, but we already heard a good collection. And even like, I didn't go into it because we don't talk about a lot, but there's a lot of great jazz records that come out in like John Coltrane, Miles Davis. They're releasing records here in 1960 that are like gonna change things forever, when these records come out. And so Frank, I feel like, is kind of like, while Frank, once again, enjoys a very long, successful career, he's on TV, it's all this stuff. I feel like it's kind of like the old and the new kind of merging here in 1960. But takes a great song, rearranges it. I think that's a big part of his success, in my opinion. And I'm not like a Frank like historian or something, but from the things that I know about Frank is that it seems like that this is where it kind of sets him above a lot of other crooners from that era, as his ability to sort of pick the right musicians, studio magic, arrangements, pick the right songs too, the right songs to cover, I think is another big one. Like really picking and putting them on records that actually feel like everything has a theme type of a thing, like a lot of his records are very like, especially early on, have like these overarching themes of like a character in the songs that character would be singing. It's very interesting stuff for back in the day. Yeah.
I need to dive back into it because I've always respected him. Always enjoyed listening to his velvety smooth.
Yeah.
There's just an attraction to him and his music, I feel like. But I've probably never listened to enough of all of his music to really see that storybook that you just kind of said.
Yeah, and
I need to dig deep dive.
And I grew up on Frank too. I mean, my father loved Frank. I mean, I used to listen to a lot of Frank stuff, and especially too growing up here in the New York, New Jersey area. I think it was CBS FM. One of them used to broadcast Saturday night, would be like live Frank stuff, and I would hear it, So I grew up with a lot of the Frank things, and I really learned to appreciate Frank for what he did. I wish I'd seen him when he was still alive, actually, to go see him live, because my parents had went to go see him several times.
That would have been amazing,
and it would have been nice to have seen him play. And he's the chairman of the board.
I feel yeah.
And that's what, Cannonball Run. Come on. He's even in Cannonball Run.
All valid points.
Yeah. So we wanted to check out some of the other versions of this song. Here's the Otis Redding version of Try a Little Tenderness, which
so
to
you
me,
put this above
this to me is the superior version of this song.
Got it.
I mean, you can't beat this.
Let me get a little sip of Dolly.
Oh, she may be weary.
I mean,
God. Classic Otis.
Them young girls, they do get wearied wearing that same old shaggy dress.
I mean, right away.
So he jumps right into the part that I love and doesn't do the slow part.
Yeah.
Smart.
A little tenderness.
Just such a different personality.
You know she's waiting.
And of course, we talked about this is Stax Records, and we talked about Stax Records. We had a great episode. Go back a few months ago when we did it with our
Dominic.
Yep, and we talked about and this. I mean, Otis Redding helped put Stax Records on the map in a very short time that he was with us, because once again, another artist that died in a plane crash.
Do you know what I appreciate about Otis is this is as if he's having a conversation with another man, and he is like emphasizing, like, listen, women get weary, like, listen to me.
Yep.
You want a good relationship? Do this.
I gotta get to the point where he just gets like.
This is good. This is good.
Right.
Ooh, yes.
The best. Let's go.
Two different songs.
I hate fading out on Otis here, but yeah.
YouTube tells us we have to.
Yeah, YouTube tells us you have to do that. But yeah, I love that version.
That's so good.
So this is my dilemma. Why I appreciate Frank's version, I cannot. The Otis version to me is a superior version of this song, but I do like Frank. So I'm not gonna say this is a terrible version or anything like that. It's just it's done in a style that Frank Sinatra can do. Frank can't do what Otis does. Like,
absolutely,
Otis couldn't do what Frank can do. So you got two different artists coming at it from two different ways, and both do it in their styles really well. But I prefer the Otis Redding version because I love that soul and Otis brings it. But for all that being said, I'm going to give Frank's version a 3.5.
Okay.
I think it's a
fair.
fine version of the song,
Okay.
but I can't help but not hear Otis.
Listen, just because it's Frank Sinatra doesn't mean everything he does
Yeah.
is 5 records.
That is correct. That is correct. So
Just
I do
play
also
the
want to
world.
get to, because we did share Dave's. I did miss Ian. Ian's picks for me, by the way, because I missed it before. Ian's picks for me are "Shout," "She's My Baby," and "Don't You Know, Pretty Baby" by the man known as the Wild One, Johnny O'Keefe. Those are his picks for me. So I will check these out, Ian. Thank you very much for putting some suggestions in the comments for me and Amanda to check out. Same to you, Dave. Thank you so much for doing that. So, all right, guys, despite technical glitches, we are managing to finish the show. I will be editing this one. But no, we appreciate everybody's been hanging out with us all day today and starting off their Monday and dealing with our technical issues. So let's wrap the show up doing what we always do.
Yes.
Spinning that wheel. Amanda, what time is it?
It is time for the Wheel of Show themes.
All right, time to spin the wheel.
Let's spin it.
Hopefully this works.
And
All right.
while it's spinning,
Yes.
we'll just say that you were the official winner of the 1960.
Well, thank
episode.
you. Yeah, and apparently we've been using 1960 equipment today, so
It's just fitting. It's fitting.
Yeah, it's just very fitting. So, all right, let's spin the wheel of themes here and see what next week's show theme will be. Shuffling the wheel.
Elvis Presley.
I don't even know if that's on here.
Chris is like, it is, but I took it off.
Okay, here we go.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh.
Okay.
Guess what, everybody?
Did we already do this one?
I don't know.
I feel like
we did an 84 one.
Or an 80, and maybe it was 87.
Maybe it was 87.
Dave, what episode were you on with us?
do we need to spin it again?
I don't know. Let's see. Listen,
all
audience. Right. Do you want us to spin again? Ian, Dave, should we spin again?
So we got basically what just landed on a wheel for everybody who's listening, not watching. We got Back in Time 1986. So we did have a faux pas with the wheel last week where a lot of the categories were on and came back on, like disappeared.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if we've done. Yeah, we did 1987. Thank you.
Okay, so that's why I'm feeling.
Yes, with David as a guest. So
all right. So listen,
all right.
I love the 80s.
So listen, guys, we're staying with the theme of going back in time here. 1986. So we're moving up a few years from 1960 to 1986, and we're going to be exploring some of the artists' songs that were released in the year 1986. Now, 1986 for me is a very significant year.
Ooh, tell me why.
I'm going to explain why. I'm going to say it now. 1986 was the year that I went to my very first concert.
Is that the one you lost your sister?
This is not the one I lost. That would be a few years later. No, in 1986, I went to go see Van Halen at the Brendan Byrne Arena in Meadowlands with my uncle. It was the very first concert I ever went to, and it was during the Van Halen 5150 tour with Sammy Hagar as the singer, and Bachman Turner Overdrive was the opening band for that one. My very first concert experience.
I'm so happy for you.
So that's why 1986 is very significant for me and very special and near and dear to my heart, because you've got, for me, that's my first proper rock and roll arena show, seeing my favorite band in the world, Van Halen.
What an experience. And you'll have to tell us a little bit more how that felt and stuff next week. Like,
I
get
will.
us in the mind of young Chris Baglio.
I will have to definitely do that.
Because I need all the details next week.
Yes, I know you do. You need all the details.
Because I was just of the wee little age of 6. As a baby.
You're a baby.
As a baby. But boy, I remember the 80s like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I can remember things from 4, 3, I think even. So those 80s were very good years for me. And Dave is coming in and saying that if I remember right, 1986 was when I first saw the Beastie Boys in concert.
Wow.
And we just watched the Beastie Boys documentary. What was that on? Was
Oh,
it
on
Hulu? Apple? Was it Apple?
Yeah.
Very interesting. And it just was with the two.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, have you watched that?
I have watched it. Yep.
It's
It's
very
great.
interesting.
It's great.
I always love to see, the start
Mhm.
and then the evolution of where they ended up and how that was the first time I had seen like a documentary that was done like that, how they were on stage kind of telling about it and then they cued in like video. I thought it was very good.
Yeah. No, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very well done documentary, and it came out around the same time as I got the book up there too, the Beastie Boys book.
Love
But
it.
so I would have been, I think, in 1986 at this time. I think it was the summer or what. I have to go back. I have the ticket stub. I have all my ticket stubs. I still have the ticket stub. I think I was
That's so
either
amazing.
12 or 13 years old when, may have been
A
13.
Thank
Yeah.
God your uncle took you. That's amazing.
Yeah, he did. So I was
That's
that
special.
was my first concert experience. So 1986, very fond year. And so I'm excited to give you my music picks for 1986.
Let's do it.
Spoiler
Let's do it.
Spoiler
Spoiler alert.
There's gonna be
I
some
know
Van
it's
Halen on that list.
show, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, some Van Hagar coming your way.
Well, I'm looking forward to next
Yeah.
week's show. This was fun, despite the few technical issues
Yep.
we had.
Great
That's the
show.
risk we do when we do live, but everyone always hangs in there with us. So thank you, everyone.
We do. We appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. So we will see you next week when we do another live show, and we'll be featuring the year 1986. And of course, Dave's already coming in with stuff. Oh, he goes,
Amazing.
that may have also been when I saw NXS with Public Image Limited. Yeah. PIL.
Interesting.
Johnny
See, Dave's
Rotten's
gonna
band.
have a lot
Yep.
of things.
He's gonna have
Start
a lot of
writing down your
things.
notes, Dave.
Yep, everybody start getting your song picks ready for the year 1986. All right, everybody. We will see you next week right here, live, hopefully with a lot less technical issues.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. To get notified every single time we drop a new episode of Chris and Amanda's Song Swap Showdown, just hit that follow button wherever you get your podcasts. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the show, please use the email address in our show notes and we'll get right back to you. And last but not least, please feel free to follow us over on our social accounts on Instagram and TikTok at Song Swap Showdown, or join our ever-growing community in our Facebook group by using the link in our show notes. Thanks for listening.